At least give us a smile.
Always.
Come on.
All right, thanks. Spotlight. Hi, my name is Brad Luck. I'm the director at Essex Junction Recreation and Parks. We are.
Can you come closer
Absolutely.
and speak louder?
Yes,
We're old.
I can do all of the
We
above.
have bad ears.
Brad Luck, Essex Junction Recreation and Parks. EJRP, we're the recreation department that's on Maple Street that services the city of Essex Junction. I was here about 2 months ago and took some questions and provided some comments. Since then, we've provided this update sheet, which is over there, which talks a little bit about what's taking place in the coming months.
Should we pass those around maybe instead
Sure.
of leaving them over there?
We can do that.
Thank you. Oh, I had
This-
this.
Maybe you would.
Sure. This is Raj Chawla. Raj is the president of the city council. And so one of the pieces of feedback, the last time I was here, you know, there were some people who had questions about things, and I advised that those were questions that city council or the management could answer. And so Raj is kindly able to join us today, so if there are specific questions for him or questions that I can't answer, we can see if he has the answers, or at least can hear your feedback that he can bring back to the rest of the council. So just a quick highlight of things on this sheet, and then I'll just open it up for questions. I think if folks were here before, you remember that currently the town of Essex operates the Essex Area Senior Center, and they have a full-time program director who provides the services for this center. And effective 1/1/24, that relationship between the city and the town will no longer exist. And so Essex Junction Recreation and Parks will assume responsibility for oversight of the Essex Area Senior Center. Also on effective 1/1/24, the Essex Town Senior Bus will no longer service residents of the city of Essex Junction and only the town of Essex, as that's a municipal function for their government. And so,
Quick question.
Sure.
Does that mean they'll only pick up people who live in Essex? But does it mean they won't deliver them in Essex Junction?
No, they'll still go, it just is residency, so they can still go to the junction, they can still go to Fanny Allen, they can still go to all those places, but they have to
But
reside
only
in
a
the
person
town.
who resides in the town?
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
and so those are the two most significant changes. What will be happening effective the 1st of January is we will continue to operate the center as it's operating now. And so that means that volunteers are opening and closing the center on Mondays and Fridays, which my understanding is typically a group that plays mahjong and typically does that from about 10 to 12. On Tuesdays, the center will be staffed by somebody from EJRP. We'll open up for the bingo group. On Thursdays, we'll be here for the groups that play Briscola and Duplicate Bridge. There'll be a staff member who will open and close the center. So that's the plan moving forward. Last time I was unsure as to when renovations were going to begin, and currently we're anticipating renovations beginning on this entire building sometime in April. So the schedule I just provided you will be the schedule for January, February, and March. And then our assumption is that come April, those activities will continue, but we will need to find another location for them.
Before April.
Yes, we'll find a new location, but they'll start taking place in that new location effective of April. And yes, so we have 3 months to figure that out. We'll want to do that as soon as possible. Obviously meeting all those criteria, you know, has good parking, that's accessible, that's... Yeah, so we'll do our best to meet that criteria list, and so that process is underway. Yes?
Is there any transportation for a person who lives in the village or right here?
The city.
To get here?
So the option would be for SSTA services, and I've been working with a lot of different people about the SSTA options. And the best advice I got yesterday was that if you're unsure about whether or not you qualify for SSTA services, you should just call them and give the answer. There's a series of questions you'll need to answer, and they can help decide what program could best serve you as a resident of the city. There is a paratransit ADA bus program in which you need to have a disability that's qualified.
I don't have a disability.
Okay, so that's one option. If you do have a disability and a healthcare professional can sign off on that, then there's the paratransit ADA program. There's also an older, it's called the O&D program. But there's a variety of criteria about where you live and whether or not you qualify for Medicaid and whether or not you have a disability. And it sounded a little bit complicated, too complicated for me to answer that question as to what services you would qualify for. And the best advice I got was to call SSTA.
Is there some, I'm sorry, is there somebody in Essex Junction government who could help a person like Lynn deal with, I mean, I sat here and listened to all the, you know, the hoochie SSS and that and that.
Yes.
I get confused. I imagine it's confusing to her too.
Absolutely.
And is there some, you know, like somebody in your government that, yeah,
Yes.
could help
So-
somebody like her?
Absolutely. So if anybody wanted any help or support in making that phone call and processing the information,
Right.
we would be happy to sit in on that phone call with you and take notes and then
How
help.
would she set that up?
She would just call, so if you look on here on the back of this page at the very bottom is the phone number for the Recreation Department. And that's the phone number that folks will want to use and start to be getting used to using when you're inquiring about senior services in the city. You'll call the Recreation Department on Maple Street, and then we'll be able to help you do that. But certainly walking through that process would be something we could assist
Yeah,
with.
and Lynn, you don't have to worry, I've already given the packet and stuff to John, so he's
Yeah,
aware of it, he'll
sure,
look
John
into
had
it
it.
for you, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, you said earlier that the town has provided us seniors with a full-time person, and that is not so. She has had other duties part of the time on other days. So it isn't a full-time person. So one had hoped that we would have at least the same kind of coverage that we've had now, which
Mhm.
wasn't full-time, but it was having somebody here more than 2 days a week.
So, well, a couple of things. One is I'm not in charge of the town, any part of the town
Oh, I know
government
that.
or the Recreation Department. So in terms of what they've provided, I don't
You just
have,
said, they have provided a full-time person, and I'm telling you that's not correct. We haven't had a full-time person.
okay.
So, but
So-
it has been more
Yeah.
than just
So,
2 days a
I
week,
think,
so.
yeah, and the confusion is, so the full-time, what you're talking about, prior to COVID, I was here pretty much every
Yeah,
single day,
you are.
full-time. When COVID hit and I had to assume all the responsibilities of all the shared senior services, meaning the van, because we no longer had the ability to use volunteers and that kind of stuff, my time got split between vans and being here. So I was still doing the full-time shared services for seniors, but I wasn't on location. So I think that's what you're referring to,
Okay.
is that you do have full-time, but they don't oversee the senior vans, so they don't have to share those services anymore with the senior vans.
I'm confused.
Yeah,
But then
She's town, your city, they're going that way,
Yeah, they went.
but there's still the town is still offering support to the senior center?
No.
No. Okay, so that's irrelevant. I mean, you're
Yes.
not irrelevant,
I know exactly
Nicole,
what you
but
mean.
she's out of it.
Correct.
Yep. I
So
know
we're
exactly what you
down
mean.
to the city taking over the responsibility for the senior center,
You got it.
And only giving.
and you're not.
And-
I mean, you're providing us, you know, a dabble of here and there of people here, but you're not really staffing the senior center.
Well,
You're not staffing the senior center.
You're not paying.
You're not staffing the senior center. You're throwing a couple of people here 2 days a week, but you're not providing senior center services.
so
What?
sorry, could I just answer her question, then I'll come back to you certainly. The schedule that's on here is the same schedule that's in the December newsletter for the
Yeah,
Essex
so-
Area Senior Center. It's also the same schedule that's been followed, as far as I know, since October, with the difference being starting in December, I think, is when Wednesdays stop being
We don't have
staffed.
our part-time staff person anymore. 'Cause
That's
we were
right.
hired for just a couple months.
So what we are offering is the status quo of what's been happening for the most part this fall and this winter.
But she was working for the senior van, now that there's no senior van. Again,
She's
service
at the
to the
ci-
senior community, and now that there is no senior van for the city to
Uh-huh.
pay for, what happened to that person?
So we don't have that person currently hired, but what has been committed was for that person to be hired. I think where part of
3
the,
days a week then?
sorry.
And when is that person going to be
Where,
hired?
you know what, it might be best if I work all the way through this and then I'll take some questions, because it's all interrelated. So the schedule that's provided here is the same exact schedule that's been happening for the entire month of December here, and pretty much the same schedule that's been happening since October. I think the complicating factor is we're not only changing hands from the town to the city effective January 1st, is also in upcoming for 2 Lincoln for the building is renovations are going to take place. And so if it was as simple as we're changing hands of who oversees this space and then we're going to start providing activities and programming, that's a different scenario than we're changing hands, but also needing to shut down the entire building for renovations. And so where we're coming from is that effective April 1st, this building won't be accessible for anything, which includes senior programming, Essex Chips, Essex Teen Center, and municipal use. And so we will then need to relocate the things that are currently happening at the senior center. And we're committed to finding new spaces for those things that are currently happening. I think hiring somebody for us full-time at this moment, when we're about to go into a season of renovations for 6 to 8 months, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so where we've been approaching this from is, let's support all of those things that have been existent for the seniors, and let's have them continue in this space as long as they can. And when this space is no longer available, let's find a new space for those things. And when this space reopens sometime next fall or next winter, October to December, depending on how long the renovations take place, then we'll get somebody full-time hired who can provide a wide array of senior programming options in this space and outside of this space. And so that's our general approach. And sorry, that's why I just wanted to go through.
I understand,
Yeah.
and that makes sense.
Okay. And I know you had a question, so, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's just that we're committed to the status quo instead of, I mean, we used to be able to have 2 or 3 programs going on at once, and now we have one room, so we can have one program, and we're not having something in the morning and something in the afternoon. It's one activity a day, and it used to be a lot better.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and I'm aware, you know, I think there's been a huge ebb and flow, obviously, over the years as different groups of seniors come through and the staffing, and we talked even on Tuesday that, you know, if you go back 8-10 years ago, there was no paid person through any municipality, that it was a 501c3 private nonprofit organization that oversaw all of the activities here, and they were all done by volunteers and committees. Over time, that's just changed and evolved. And then we threw in COVID to the mix, and where this place was shut down for a very long time. So we're kind of at where we're at, and we obviously want to support, you know, there's many of you, I think this is the busiest day of the week that come to Duplicate Bridge. If there are other things that people have been having a desire to have happen, that they just need us to find some space and some support for, we're totally open to that. We're just not at the moment familiar with what those things are. So all we can do is support what we know, and what we know is the activities that are happening currently. So if there's a desire for some of those other things and it's feasible over the next 12 months to do that, we're happy to support it.
So could I say, Wednesdays, I don't understand, Wednesdays used to be a really big day at the senior center.
I know.
We had luncheons.
Yes.
We had presentations. We had all kinds of things. Why is Wednesday out of the mix?
Like I said, I'm well aware of the
That was our
lunches.
biggest
I
day.
know, it was, and so I have not had any control over, and I still don't have any control over senior programming that's happening at this space.
Who has control over it?
The town of Essex and Nicole have been the ones who have been responsible for programming this space.
But as of January 1st,
Can
what
I-
happens to those luncheons if Wednesday is not
Can
I-
going to be here?
Hold on,
Can I ask-
can I just answer the luncheon piece?
I've got a better question
Okay.
that would encompass this.
Okay,
You know, this is in the past. This is what the senior center has been in the past. It's not that now.
right.
But there are people obviously that want it to become more vital.
Yes, indeed.
I would like, you are now in charge of the senior center, is that correct?
Effective January 1st.
I would like a long-term statement from you as to what you would like to see the senior center be. Since you're the one who is controlling the staffing, controlling the location, controlling the monies, you're hearing what has been and what this group and the bingos and all the other people would like to do.
Uh-huh.
They would like to become more active,
Mhm.
but we can't do anything because you control the location, the money, the people. But I haven't heard anything about a long-term vision that you and the city have for the senior center
Well,
or the city.
I wouldn't want you or the city to make those decisions by yourself.
that's a good
That's
answer.
right.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
that's
Well, in the last
that's-
meeting, you talked about having not just senior people, you talked about an adult program as well as just senior. We would like to see more senior activities like card parties, like teas that we had, fundraisers that we had craft fairs. We would like all of that to occur, and there hasn't been any we used to do trips.
There's no vision from you. There's no, where would I like, to see a director of the seniors? I would like to see an organizer of volunteers. I would like to, that all has to come from you.
Yeah,
So, a little, perhaps you should sit down and really think about it and write out a vision statement
And then
that
can
we
go
could
over.
then, I mean, this has been going on, this group of people have been in limbo for over a year, and there's no information coming out. Sure, we're gonna move in 3 months. Where?
Still don't know.
What, and you
Can I
don't
jump in,
seem
Liz?
to be
Yeah, please.
willing
Yeah, so
to
let me
provide.
just see if I can answer. So I'm Raj Chawla, I'm the village city president. City, not village. I think we're putting a lot on Brad, the director of recreation and parks, and he's taking our lead on this, the city council's lead and the manager's lead.
Okay,
Our vision for the senior center is to make it vibrant again.
that's a nice word.
And not
What
just
is how?
vibrant again, but more vibrant than it has been. I mean, we are not serving, I've looked at the numbers from the census and our historical numbers for the center. We're really not serving seniors now, nor do I think we've adequately served seniors in the past. We have so many people, I am eligible for this, for membership here.
Do you play bridge?
I enjoy it. I have no idea what duplicate bridge is, and I'm looking over here terrified. I don't know what any of this is. But all I'm saying is, I think our vision,
Is eligible.
I think, right, and because of that,
Yeah.
my personal vision for this space is that we welcome in and make this an attractive place for more people who are eligible to use it, with more activities, maybe not more activities, but a wider range of activities. So there's a little more, so there are more people here on a regular basis. We are not there now, as Brad said. We haven't been there in quite some time.
You're right.
Everybody has been in limbo. Our staff doesn't know where they're going to work also in 3 months. We have to figure out where we put, I want to say a dozen people.
This
maybe
sounds
more.
like crisis
The town
intervention.
doesn't know.
It kind of is
really-
crisis intervention in a sense, because we were asked by the community on a spot after planning for a merger for 10 years to separate. So in reality, we are in a crisis management sort of situation because we're creating this all on the fly. This community prepared for merger on both ends, town and city, town and village, for about 10 years. And that didn't happen. So they then asked us, our city residents asked us to flip that and said they were done. And this is what happened. So we're asking for a little bit more patience, but we're also, I just want to say that the whole council is very committed and all staff are very committed to really building this up. It is not going to happen quickly. And partly that is going to take input from you all and input from people we just haven't seen here yet. Our recreation department is amazing at just this, innovating programs, staffing those programs, and keeping them going. If you could see what they've done for childcare in this community, I'm really excited to see what they can do for this, for adult programming. And I think Brad will explain what he means by adult programming way better than I can. But it's seniors and.
Well, I think the short term is, you know, I have been told that there have been several locations that have offered to take us in that have been shot down by the city. And at this point, I think we don't want to come in April 1st and say, oh, well, you're supposed to be over in room 203 at the BD, you know.
Well, I think we all understand that's probably not a realistic solution. I mean, nobody's gonna have you end up on April 1st, not on March 31st and not know where you're
So
going.
perhaps
31 days?
maybe we would feel better if you could communicate where you are looking, or take some suggestions from people that have heard that there are other places that are available that are within the city. I mean,
I am not even fully familiar with, I mean, you could probably answer that better. I'm not fully familiar with where we've looked. I do know that where we've looked in the past, some might work, some might not, there might be other factors to it that I'm, you know, that's just not something that I'm actively participating in on the board level.
But unfortunately, the people
But some of those
here
haven't
have
worked
been
out.
in limbo, and it's causing a lot of stress for
I
us.
completely respect that.
And
It is for us too.
a little
Totally respect that.
But also, here's the thing, the seniors need services now.
Mhm.
You're in a limbo, you might be starting in April, but you have the opportunity now to still provide in this space open activities and funding for, you have the budget for it now, it's already approved. So you could have services, we could continue here being open all week long. It's a big responsibility.
Right.
I've been here before when someone has needed you know, attention, medical attention. This is a big responsibility, we get that. But you have the opportunity now to continue to provide healthy, we've been through a lot. And so just saying, well, we're gonna provide this and this and this, no Wednesdays, all that, this is very minimal. If you really mean you wanna have a
Open it.
thriving service for seniors.
Open it up.
I see people coming in the door all the time. I mean, we need to have someone here representing you, who we can talk to, who we can build with, who we can prepare for going, you know, when you're gonna be shut down, what will that look like? And that's what we need. And we know you have the budget for it.
I think that-
And we
and
need
it's
to
been
be
approved.
involved in some of the decision making, because we're in limbo, and that's not fair to us. You need to share information with us. Where are you looking? What are the options? Don't tell me you don't know where you're looking.
I'm sorry. You let me know when you're good for me to go. And
Oh, very well, you may go.
okay, thank you. We understand that that uncertainty can create angst. We're not talking about January 1st not knowing where we're going. We're not talking about February 1st not where we're going. We're not talking about March 1st. We're talking about April. And our goal is to make that transition as seamless as possible for all of the things that are happening here. And so we have lots of different criteria with which we would evaluate spaces, like could they accommodate the seniors both on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Would we be able to store the tables and the chairs and the other supplies and equipment that go along with those activities in those spaces? Would they be readily available on Tuesdays and Thursdays for 6 to 8 months? Or are there other things that happen in those spaces? The spaces we're exploring are spaces like municipal space here in this building, which is out until the end of the renovation. We're looking at the coal board room over at the Brownell Library. We're looking at the multi-purpose rooms over on 75 Maple Street. We're looking at some of the churches who have hosted things in the past or expressed a willingness and openness to host spaces then. The schools could be a consideration. But we have some criteria with which we're going to evaluate spaces. We will share the space availability once we know it. And to be honest, right now it's December 21st. I don't know where that's going to be on April 1st. And we're going to work on that. We don't have that answer.
It will be before April 1st.
It will be before April 1st. That's right. You won't show up in April and have to guess on where to go. But we don't have that information readily available, and we will be working on that. In terms, I just want to come back to some other things. I know there used to be a really vibrant lunch on Wednesdays and group and activity and informational and educational sessions. I'm well aware for many years those took place actually at Maple Street where I work. Those, for whatever reason, don't currently exist. And some of the considerations that we have as we move into this is if we were to, in January, engage on recreating those weekly Wednesday lunches here and education sessions and all of those things, where do we then move those to starting in April? And so if we can make those connections and connect those dots, then there could be some opportunities to offer some of those programs. Where we have to be careful is, right now we have this space that's basically empty most days and available to do that programming, and we don't have that luxury come April 1st. And so I think the worst thing we could do is in January launch Wednesday lunches and education sessions and slowly build them up throughout January, February, and March, only to then say in April, sorry, we don't have a location that is available every single Wednesday to support X number of people, that has good handicap parking, that's all of those things. And makes it work. So those are the kinds of things that we're trying to balance and be fair with. In terms of my vision of the center, it's what your answer was. It doesn't matter what my vision is. It's what serves all of your needs and wants, and not just those of you who are in this room, but all of those who have not yet exposed themselves to either senior programming, senior events, or the senior center itself. And so my role will be, just as it is for all of recreation, is to support the staffing, support the budgets, and support the opportunities for community members to relay what they want, and then we can support those kinds of activities.
When this place was really vibrant and had everything going for it was when we did have a full-time person here.
Mm-hmm.
And that person, because she was full-time, was able to, and not just full-time taking up space and doing whatever we asked, but was active in trying to bring out the outside community in, and active to do all the things that you say you would like us to see. And that's why membership had gone to over 200, and why we had luncheons, and why we had trips, and why we had all that stuff. Because there was somebody here to do it every day. And that's what we have been lacking since. Since the town took us over, they never gave us, that kind of support. And we were lucky we had Nicole.
Yeah. And as Raj said, we will have a full-time person doing those things.
That's right.
But it probably won't be hired until the fall of next year.
Do you have somebody hired to start January 1st?
We have somebody who will support the activities on Tuesdays and Thursdays starting in January, yes.
They can't hire a full-time person because they can't give them a job full-time.
That's right.
So somebody from the rec department is going to be coming over, is that it?
That's correct.
It's just babysitting, correct?
Yeah.
It's just children
sitting.
Just believe it.
Because she's not going to provide programs for us. He or she will not provide programs for us. Brad, you need to communicate. We don't even have a newsletter for January that would share with us some of this that you are sharing today. Our community is beyond these 2 days that you are presenting. that newsletter would have made a grand statement from your group to say, we're on board, people, we're here, we're gonna listen to you, we're gonna do what needs to be done, and it's not happening. So I hear their frustration. You know, as volunteers, we ran this place for a long time, long before Luann came on board. We had many members. Peggy and I had the membership up to 300 and something.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, it's communication, and we're not getting it.
Okay, great. Well, that's good feedback. Thanks.
I think that's an excellent idea. Having a newsletter with some kind of statement that really talks about what you've talked about here, so that it's printed and people can pick it up and
Sure.
it's.
Well, that certainly was the hope, at least, of getting this update. But if getting that into a different format and distributed, we can work on that.
Who is the
Something
person that's
friendlier.
gonna come? Have you designated someone from the rec department that we can begin to build a relationship with?
Yeah, we did meet with somebody yesterday who I think is going to be able to cover those hours. There will be a recreation department staff person. The hope is for it to be a consistent one, and it looks like we've found somebody that can do that, but somebody will be here. There is contact information on here. Mark Brislin is on here, his address, his phone number, his email, and our website. So if you have questions, that would be a great resource to reach out to.
I called this morning to find out what time the meeting was. And when the phone was answered, the individual had no idea there was a meeting, had no idea what was going on, and had to look it up and call me back a half hour later.
Okay.
Now, everybody in your office should know what meetings are going on.
Yeah, was she able to get back to you?
Yeah, she got back to
Oh,
me
great.
with the correct time, because some people were under the impression the meeting was 11:30 the way it was on Tuesday.
That's right, it was Tuesday. at
And so there
11:30.
was some confusion along that
Yeah.
line. So she did get back to me, but
Great.
it seems to me the office should have known.
Well, thanks for that feedback. I'm really glad she was able to get back to you.
Oh, she
get
did,
back to
and
you
she
in a timely
was
fashion.
very nice and very polite and got me the information quickly.
Great. I did distribute this to my staff. It may not roll off their tongue as to what time the senior meeting is on Thursday, and they may have to relocate the memo and call somebody back. So I would say that, I apologize that it took us a half hour to get back to you, but there's a lot of things happening at the rec department, and for them to just roll off, when
Yeah.
every meeting is, may not happen while they're on the phone, but I'm glad she was able to get the information needed.
You don't have an easy job.
You know what, it's okay. I think all of your concerns are valid, and I appreciate your comments. I'm apologize, I don't have your answer where you're gonna be on Tuesdays, starting April 2nd. Like, I can only be honest. And to say that we're working on it and that we will have a place for these existing activities. There are endless opportunities for seniors in this community and older adult programming. To not only support what's been happening and to bring back things from the past that used to exist, but try some new things as well. And I'm confident that a new program director will be able to do those things. We're just in this really awkward time period of shifting from town to city, and also a renovation period. And so it's complicating things a lot. And I understand that, and I know that doesn't feel great, but it's just a reality of where we're at the moment. And we can't change some of those factors.
Do you have the budget right now, though, to provide us with, it was budgeted for the senior center in the new year. So do you have the budget now that you could provide us with, every day somebody be here? Do you have that budget?
There's money in the budget to support a program director for older adult services.
But you're not gonna hire them until the fall.
That's correct.
So you don't have any temporary monies that can be allocated before the fall that can come here and keep this place open and then transition to wherever we're gonna go in April.
We are planning on utilizing some of those monies to hire a part-time person to
5 days a
support,
week.
to support the existing activities that have been happening at the senior center from this fall.
2 days a week.
That's correct. That's what's been happening. And the data that we've received from about the senior center is that there are 0 people that are currently coming in for drop-in hours. And
That's because there's nobody here.
well, those are the numbers that I get and the information that I was given back in October.
But it's invalid information.
I came here one Friday afternoon and there was a man sitting here in the dark because there was no one here. He was used to coming here. He was sitting here in the dark. That is not a safe situation.
I don't oversee the senior center currently, so I can't speak.
I know,
to
I'm
each
just
of those.
saying, this
Yeah.
is the scenario
Yeah.
that, we need someone here to welcome people, to coordinate this so we can move into a new phase.
Yes.
Maybe we should reconsider this. I mean, essentially, you're suspending services for the seniors until until the fall when we can put it all together and get started. Maybe it would be advisable to get a program director now who can start learning the opportunities and meeting the people, and granted, babysitting this place, but it might be better to bring in a program director now who can have some input into where we located and what we do and all that.
I think that's a valid point. I think our concerns, as Brad has mentioned, is that that person would not be anywhere near busy. And I think we have an opportunity, you as a group, with the folks at the Recreation Department and the community, to spend this transition time doing just that. I think it's one way to look at this is a very awkward transition.
That's true.
This has, how many folks here are city residents? Raise your hand. How many folks here are city residents by hand? 2?
One's in the
3.
hospital.
Diane? Okay,
There's
so
another
right
one in the
now,
hospital.
one that's in the
so
hospital.
right now, to the 3 of you, this is an opportunity to, not that elders aren't welcome, to work with us to rebuild this. I mean, my intention for the next 8 months until this is reopened is to figure out with the community, being you and others that aren't here, what is missing? What do we bring back? What's new? And as I said before, I think our recreation department is in the state the best at doing that. So I'm actually really encouraged. This is going to be an awkward transition for those city residents who are used to coming here. That is our primary concern. And ensuring that as we do build up that programming, people will come. And so I don't have a better answer in terms of what, I can't magically make 50 more members come. It's gonna take a partnership for all of us to make this attractive and to use the time, and it's gonna be a long time.
It is, but may I say something
to
about
build
your
this
city
back up.
residents? Your city residents, and you keep using city residents, and you have pulled the van usage for the city residents,
We have.
which is crazy.
Is it?
Yes, it is. Once you
Because
get your numbers back, I'm telling you, from having past been here, and Brad will validate for me, I'm a very active and long-time member here, that city residents were dropped off by those vans in big numbers. They have fallen, granted, but that is not to say it won't happen if you're going to build it up.
I think the van is just a reality of where we find ourselves with the separation. I think if I were to want to see a city-led van service, I'd want it to actually serve the medical offices that it doesn't serve. It doesn't go to the main campus, it doesn't go to UHC, it doesn't go to Tilly, which is very heavily used by seniors.
It is.
I've actually worked at the College of Medicine, I've talked to providers, I'm aware, and the public health community of the needs and where they need to go, and it doesn't serve that.
I know that.
It does serve the grocery stores, and we are going to work very hard to, I would say, just pay attention to the usage and pay attention to how all this rolls out. You know, nothing being done today is the last word on any of this.
That's good.
You know,
to
if we can rebuild this And if we need to do more, we'll do more. I think, as Brad pointed out, we're starting where we are. Let's build it back up. Let's find some creative ways to get more membership and create more connection. I think, we keep hearing we're in a crisis of loneliness right now. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that everybody thrives with connection. And we are committed as a board and as a city to improving this and to bringing you all together and having that connection. I mean that from my heart. Right now, this is where we are, and it's going to be a long and difficult transition, and you've already been through, like the rest of us, a very long and difficult time. I really mean that we really want to rebuild this to something we can all be very proud of, that serves more people and different age groups.
Which we tried to do.
Right, and I think
We opened it up to 50, yeah.
It will fall apart though during this transition. Even the people that are here, people are going to have a very hard time without a place, without a director, without building a program. It will fall apart just like it did during COVID. And then it's going to be even harder to bring back.
Well, I think, that's part of what our goal is to support those things that are currently existing and thriving throughout this transition period, meaning through the renovation. And so I don't think those things will fall apart. I think we'll be able to continue to find space, in particular on the heaviest used days of Tuesdays and Thursdays, for those things to continue until we're able to return to this space.
Do you get information into, all the people who aren't here right now? Do you get information into places where seniors live on a, I don't know, a regular basis? A lot of new people, me included, moved here. I played bridge before, so I went looking, starting, anyway, it doesn't matter, but starting with an official organization and then talking to people to find this. I didn't even know this existed. And if it weren't for bridge, I wouldn't have known it existed. I live in a place that's 55 and older. There's nothing in there unless somebody from here brings the newsletter up, puts it on our bulletin board. If you want people to come here, they have to know it's here, when it functions, what's going on. I know a couple of people in the building I live in really like the drumming. And they came, I was surprised. I looked at them and I said, you like drumming, great, But you gotta go out and you gotta get them and get them interested. It's like marketing, and it's, the same thing.
But a lot of that depends on the director that you hire, because the director is the one who is imaginative, has the interests of the seniors at hand, and wants to take on the responsibility. Our former director came up with all kinds of trips, came up with all kinds of things. The program committee that I was not on was ended for some reason because somebody did not want a program committee for our group. So I think you're really important. The person you hire as director has to be a really vibrant, exciting person and have loads of ideas. That's super important.
And so by
Somebody
not
that likes to
hiring anybody until next fall or the beginning of the year, you put off any opportunity to have that programming start. Because now you've got somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, and they have to get used to everything, and they have to learn, and that's another 6 months down the road.
You're functioning, you made a comment that you're not gonna hire a program person until the fall because there's nothing for them to do. And I'd like to suggest that there's a tremendous amount that they can do as far as organization, building a base, creating,
Writing grants.
Writing grants, just knowledge of the community, knowledge of there's a ton involved in a program director. Do you even have a job description for
Yes.
what you want?
Yeah.
And, the job description, the qualifications,
It's more than just me.
the salaries, what they have to do. what kind of education they have.
Yeah. We're-
Why do you think that they can't have anything to do between now and September?
It's not that we think they can't have anything to do. Our intention would be to hire them in advance of the renovations, but close to when those are done, so that they can start and get a leg up and get prepared and be ready to open when the building is reopened.
I think
It's not,
I think you're putting the carpet sweep before the horse. I mean, there's so much to do before then.
yeah,
I
well,
don't think you're correct.
okay.
Just,
Maybe somebody could start part-time and then go full-time.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I think there's also the realities of the marketplace, and so, you know, right now, all I have to offer somebody is Tuesdays and Thursdays, and from now until the end of March, and then I don't know where the location will be.
Who
So
made that decision?
Is this a
That
salary
we only are
position?
Tuesdays and Thursdays, though, that
that
was very arbitrary.
that wasn't, that's us maintaining what's been happening since October.
so you have a
That's not
budget and
just
you
what-
have a
just
job
because
description.
Our program was gearing down because of the transition we're in.
Yeah.
But that is not what the senior center, that is not what the programming of the senior center has
Correct.
been.
Correct.
So you're taking that as example, but it was just that, you know, we're preparing for the ending of a program that was here, and so I don't think that's the model we should be following.
Well, and I agree with you, but we have this other component of renovations and this building being shut down, and so.
So there's
it's-
not an office space that they could use to start writing grants and organizing programs and, I mean, it sounds like you're not hiring like a professional. Is this a salary position? Is this person have a
salary.
master's
It's
in social work or whatever? I mean,
It's
is this a real professional job?
It is. It's a salaried position. It has a job description. It is something we plan to hire for in the fall, and we don't feel like hiring at
And
this
there's
time is the most prudent decision.
And you're not receptive to possibly
We need to.
rethinking that, having heard the input from your seniors whose program it affects. You're not willing to reconsider that?
I'm not, I guess I
Or
would.
maybe I should put that to you.
No.
Are you willing to reconsider
That's
hiring
not,
this
that's not an
person?
operational decision that the board makes, so I think we just need to.
Are you
differentiate.
influenced by them maybe?
No, I work for the
Oh.
manager. The city manager is who I work for, and the city manager works for the council.
Right.
And so I just wanted, the council doesn't make operational day-to-day decisions on staffing matters.
Does the operational, does the,
Manager?
I mean, does the city, can the city influence and say, we need to keep the program growing now? I mean, you have some influence over this gentleman, don't you? I mean, you're hearing all of this
I don't
and
speak to Brad or any of our employees directly about what they should or shouldn't be doing. That's not
The-
my list. I work
this-
with the manager. I could talk to the manager, and the manager's decision on how they run the city day to day is how the operation
Let's
works
open up the door.
by law. So,
Let's open
the
the door.
board,
the
Yeah,
board,
the board could,
the board
the board
supports
could
the
look at
seniors.
this.
Yeah.
The board could look at this and ask that certain aspects of it be reconsidered. But right now, this is the path that the board
So
has decided.
can we ask the board that? We have to come to
I've
the board.
heard, I'll bring it back to the board, but today, this is the path we're going
Yes.
down, and this is the path that the manager has asked Brad to follow. And so for today, that's what we're doing.
I think that's fine, but if
And
we
it's a
could have
shame.
some
I think
hope.
I think it's a big shame that as you, maybe it was you that put it, that it was a decision to wind things down, instead of keep them vibrant, as this if that's really what happened, I don't know. But we asked the city to take over and continue the operations as they've been occurring. This is really going to be a very difficult but manageable transition, and we're going to come out of this with a nicer result. And I just think that's the reality right now.
You're going to
And-
start from ground zero.
And that may be. But I do think that starting from
You're
ground
gonna
zero
lose
is
it all.
starting. And starting from ground zero gives us the opportunity to completely reimagine and do something different.
Especially after COVID.
There are a lot of things that right now that are starting from zero, unfortunately.
There was a suggestion quite a while ago, that when the town took over, that there be a committee of seniors within the hiring process, so that whoever was being hired was at least familiar with what the people wanted, as opposed to what just is in the job description, and seeing what their background was, etc. And I would ask that you consider having that again, the advisory committee, if you will.
Mhm. Yeah, and that suggestion, I think somebody relayed that to the city manager and was relayed back to me that there's an interest in that. And
What was the
don't like
feedback?
hearing answers that are, but we just have not made that consideration for what
Okay.
we're considering a fall hire as to what the hiring committee will look like going forward.
Okay.
But I
But you
appreciate,
haven't made that decision.
we have not made that decision,
Okay.
and I appreciate you sharing your suggestions on it.
What was the feedback that you got from the bingo people on Tuesday? Similar concerns or different concerns? Or, whatever. I mean, I've only been at these meetings.
Yeah.
Because I don't play bingo, I play bridge, but I'm curious as to, that to me is probably a pretty different group of people.
Yeah.
So, what do they have to say?
I guess my takeaways from Tuesday, there wasn't anything that really stuck out to me as major concerns. I think it was a little bit different of a conversation. There were some questions and things, but I wouldn't say there was as many ideas or opinions or thoughts about doing things differently or other than hearing what's happening and just inquiring about what those steps look like.
Do the bingo and bridge folks not intermingle? Are we- This is how we need to know this, because if we're not to.
On Wednesday lunch.
Wednesdays.
And other programs that are
And other
offered.
programs that brought different, but no, we, you know.
Different skills.
I just thought it was funny how she put it.
Yeah.
I'm a
That is true.
bridge person, I don't come to those bingo days.
I don't, but I'm only one person, so.
But, no, but it's very true, but Wednesdays was a day.
Everybody,
particular that
yeah.
Everybody
showed
met
up.
everybody else, and that was really fun. And why I think it was so popular, because you got to meet other people that you might have known from the other thing, but never got to see here because you don't play bingo, or you don't play bridge.
Do you need help?
Oh, no, I'm all set. Okay, thanks. Hi, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there other questions or comments from anyone?
Thank you for coming.
Yes,
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I appreciate those suggestions that we're able to take back about communications. I hear you about wanting to be involved in a hire and about desires to have somebody hired sooner than later. We're gonna do our best to balance all of those things, to minimally give you what's been happening, to try and
5, 6, yeah.
support other ideas in this interim period, but to really hit the ground running once this space opens and we have regular opportunities in a regular space to offer things. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to.
I like that. So you can really kind of-
Reservations are going to.
So it's sort of who's
I
better
don't
at the game. than who-
All right, Diane.
That's the rumor.
Might as well, right?
Didn't look up.
Facebook might like it way more juicy.